6 dozen screaming human pets tore through the enemy ranks, clawing, shredding, and dismembering the Caitian scum. The brutal pets savagely tore off limbs and smashed in alien skulls, fighting like demons for their beloved human masters as bright lasers sparked the sky. The human pets changed the course of a hopeless battle, beating back the tide of fur and teeth, even as casualties mounted. We were losing until they charged forth from our fortified basements. The fighting was thick on planet Vega Prime. Purple blood soaked the barren wastelands. The 34th Battalion dug into dirt trenches at the outskirts of the colony town, dodging heavy artillery. The alien ships screamed overhead, wreaking destruction with each bombing run over our entrenched soldiers, vaporizing armor and bodies alike. Scores of humans were cut down by the hailstorm of screeching plasma. An explosion rocked our position. Red-hot shrapnel sprayed the defense lines, killing 3 men instantly. I ducked deeper into the trench as sand rained down on our helmets. My brothers in arms were perishing rapidly. Our return fire did little to the advancing horde. Private Stevens took a flechette shell to the gut, his intestines painting the dirt. As I tried to stem his bleeding, Corporal Higgins died to a headshot right beside me, brain matter splattering my uniform. We were being wiped out. The Caitians were slaughtering us like cattle. They smashed our lines and I screamed to my radio man, "Sit rep to the Olympus, request immediate emergency aid. We cannot hold our position. They are cutting us to shreds. We need help now." The voice that crackled back over comms was solemn. "This is Olympus Actual. Negative on reinforcements. You'll have to make do, son." I cursed, tossing my headset aside in disgust. My chest burned from a plasma wound. The medic said I'd never regain feeling in my left arm. This is how we die, I thought grimly. On some god-forsaken rock, sacrificed to the Caitian meat grinder while the general sits safe and cozy up in orbit. I gripped my rifle tight, the cold steel biting into my palm. Just when all hope seemed lost, a miracle arrived in the form of strange new allies. Rhaegar led me back to his stolen Caitian ship hidden in a ravine. The sleek craft opened, and I staggered up the ramp into the cargo bay, clutching my mangled arm. I stared in shock. A motley crew of Caitians bustled about the hold, rushing to treat wounded and prepare for liftoff. These were no ordinary Caitians, though. They bore the distinct markings of Imperial defectors. Rhaegar introduced me to their leader, Dr. Zara. The brilliant scientist had a fierce intensity in her gold eyes. "You're the leader of this merry band of traitors?" I asked. "Traitors to a corrupt, bloodthirsty empire," Zara hissed. "I was the Emperor's chief science officer. I know the real reason behind this invasion." She led me to a secure lab deep within the ship. There she revealed their secret weapon, a rare, powerful mineral called Etherium. Zara held up a glowing blue crystal, raw Etherium. "This is what the Caitian Empire is really after," she explained. "Etherium is the key to our advanced ships and weapons. For decades, we've strip-mined it from helpless worlds. But it's running out. Your solar system is one of the last untapped sources in the galaxy." The horrible truth dawned on me. Humanity was being exterminated for our planet's resources, but Zara had more revelations in store. Suddenly alarms blared. The ship rocked as Imperial plasma bombarded our shields. Zara checked the displays, her fur standing on end. "It's Admiral Kalos, Rhaegar's old mentor. He's found us." Through the view screen, I watched a vast Imperial fleet descend upon us, a swarm of destroyers and fighters against our lone corvette. Soldiers scrambled to battle stations. Rhaegar took the helm, desperately trying to evade the onslaught. The defector crew fought bravely, but we were hopelessly outgunned. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks as the ship bucked and rolled. Enemy cannons tore through our armor. But then I saw it. A small, agile fighter danced through the Imperial formations, blasting them to pieces with stunning precision. The pilot's flying was incredible, racking up kills at a shocking pace. Rhaegar magnified the mysterious craft, and I gasped. The pilot was a German shepherd, my loyal dog Max. "Ah, you look surprised," Zara said, as Max vaped another squadron. "Max is one of my greatest creations, an uplifted animal, genetically enhanced for intelligence and combat ability. Your pets bought us this chance for rebellion. Now they fight for both our people's freedom. All across the battlefield, uplifted dogs, cats, dolphins, and more dueled the Imperials in strikecraft and shuttles. Max led the charge, cutting a path for us to escape. With covering fire from our new animal allies, Rigor punched the hyperdrive. The stars stretched to infinite lines as we jumped, the ship groaning under the strain of battle damage. We'd escaped, but just barely, and everything had changed. Earth's survival would depend not just on human courage, but the aid of unexpected friends, both Cation and canine. Our damaged corvette limped through the void, desperate for a port in the storm. Admiral Carlos and his armada would undoubtedly be searching for us. "There," Zara said, pointing a claw at the navigation display. "That uncharted planet could hide us while we repair the hyperdrive." Rhaegor brought the ship down on the barren world, finding shelter in a massive cave system. As the crew set to work patching the hull and realigning the thrusters, James and Max donned their pressure suits for a scouting mission. The planet's surface was desolate, all cracked earth and howling winds, but as they crested a ridge, an incredible sight greeted them. Sprawling ruins stretched across the valley floor, the crumbling structures clearly not of human or Cation design. "What the hell is this place?" James wondered aloud. Max sniffed the air, ears perked. "No signs of life, but there's something about these ruins. I think we should investigate." They picked their way through the ancient city, marveling at the strange architecture and faded glyphs etched into the walls. James ran his fingers over the symbols, a prickle of unease running down his spine. "You feel that? It's like this place is calling to us." At the heart of the ruins, they discovered a massive chamber, its vaulted ceiling mostly intact, and there, in the center of the room, a huge crystal pulsed with an ethereal blue light. "Ethereum," James breathed, "more than I've ever seen." As they approached, Max spotted a pedestal beside the crystal. It held a cracked stone tablet covered in more of the alien script. "We need to get Zara down here. She'll want to see this." The Cation scientist nearly sprinted into the chamber when James told her what they'd found. She crouched before the pedestal, tracing the glyphs with trembling hands. "This language is ancient. Older than the Cation Empire, older than any civilization I know of." She turned to face them, eyes wide. "The progenitors, the ones who came before, who seeded the galaxy with life. This must have been one of their worlds." James knelt beside her, studying the tablet. "What does it say?" "It tells of a great war eons ago. The progenitors were losing, overwhelmed by a terrible enemy. In desperation, they created a weapon, one that could wipe out entire fleets." She tapped a series of glyphs which began to glow. A star map shimmered to life above the pedestal, a webwork of flickering nodes and lines. "This is a map, and I believe it shows us where that weapon is hidden." Suddenly, Rhaegor's voice crackled over the comms. "James, Zara, get back to the ship now. We have a serious problem." They raced back through the ruins, questions still burning in their minds. On the bridge, Rhaegor looked grim. "I intercepted an Imperial transmission." He keyed a switch, and a hologram of the Cation Emperor sprang to life. "The time has come," the Emperor growled, "to end the human infestation once and for all. I am deploying the planet killers. Every Terran world will burn, starting with their precious Earth." James gripped the back of Rhaegor's chair, knuckles white. "Planet killers? I thought those were just a myth." Zara shook her head. "Dreadnoughts, each one capable of cracking a planet's crust like an egg. I helped design the prototypes. With a whole fleet of them, the Emperor could reduce Earth to molten slag in hours." "Then what are we waiting for?" Max snarled. "We know where the progenitor weapon is now. We've got to get to it before those dreadnoughts reach Earth." Rhaegor held up a hand. "That weapon is our last hope, but we can't all go after it. Someone needs to warn the humans, gather every ship we've got left for a counterattack." He met James's eyes. "I'll take the crew and round up our allies. You, Zara, and Max follow that map. Find the weapon." James nodded. We'll get it done, but Riga, give the Emperor hell for us. The crew hurried to repair the ship and prepare for the desperate missions ahead. But as James and Max hauled weapons and gear into a scout shuttle, alarms blared across the hull. "Shit," Rhaegor shouted over the din. "Imperial ships incoming, a dozen at least." On the view screen, the angular silhouettes of Cation destroyers screamed toward the planet, disgorging swarms of fighters. "It's Kalos," Zara hissed. "He's found us." James and Max sprinted for the cave mouth, the small shuttle in tow. Rhaegar and the crew scrambled to get the corvette spaceworthy again, even as the Imperial ships entered the atmosphere. Plasma rained from the sky as James and Max reached open ground. Fighters swooped low, strafing the ruins with searing beams. The humans returned fire, Max's uplifted reflexes downing 3 Cation craft in as many shots. But more ships poured through the clouds, led by a black destroyer bristling with cannons. Kalos, the Admiral's flagship, hammered the ruins, reducing ancient stone to molten slag. Soldiers in Cation battle armor repelled from dropships, laying down a withering hail of suppressing fire. James and Max took cover behind a crumbling wall as the stench of ozone and scorched fur filled the air. "Get to the shuttle," James roared over the chaos. "I'll hold them off." "I'm not leaving you," Max barked, dropping another Cation with a well-placed shot. "You have to." James grabbed his friend's shoulder, looking into those intelligent eyes he knew so well. "The weapon is the only thing that matters now. You and Zara are the only ones who can find it, the only ones who can save Earth." Tears matted the fur on Max's face, but he nodded. "I'll find it, James. I'll find it and I'll end this, I promise." James rose from cover, a grenade in each hand. "Then go, go!" Max turned and sprinted for the shuttle, as James charged the Imperial line with a wordless battle cry. He lobbed the grenades into the heart of the enemy formation, scattering the Cations like leaves. Lasers flashed. Bullets whined. James fought like a man possessed, cutting down foes left and right, even as their shots found his flesh. Behind him, the shuttle's engines flared to life. He glimpsed Max at the controls, anguish etched on his canine features. Zara pulled the wounded scientist aboard, shouting for Max to lift off. James smiled through bloody teeth, even as a plasma bolt burned through his chest. He fell to his knees, still firing, the light fading from his eyes. "Give 'em hell, boy," he whispered. The shuttle rocketed into the sky, outpacing the Imperial fighters. Max watched James vanish beneath a sea of enemies, tears streaking his fur. He set a course for deep space, following the progenitor map. Behind him, Rhaegar's corvette burst from the cave in a plume of fire and dust, scattering the remaining Cations. The battered ship clawed for orbit, turning toward the nearest human colony. The battle was over. The real war was about to begin. Max gunned the shuttle's engines, the craft shuddering as it tore through the void. Dr. Zara pored over the progenitor star map, tracing the route to the superweapon with a claw. "We'll need to cut through the Ort asteroid field to avoid the main Imperial trade lanes," she said. Max nodded, adjusting their heading. The shuttle dove into a dense field of tumbling rocks, some large enough to crack the hull like an egg. Max's uplifted reflexes took over, the craft dancing and weaving between the spinning boulders. An Imperial patrol frigate emerged from behind a massive asteroid, its cannons swiveling to lock on. Max juked hard to port, narrowly avoiding a salvo of plasma. The frigate gave chase, closing the distance. "Hang on!" Max barked. He slammed the throttle forward, plunging the shuttle into a narrow canyon etched into a planetoid surface. The frigate unleashed a barrage, chunks of rock exploding around them. Max hugged the canyon wall, pulling a high-G turn into a side passage. The Imperial ship overshot them, unable to match the maneuver. Max punched the accelerator, rocketing out of the asteroid field and leaving the frigate eating their exhaust. As they emerged from the treacherous corridor, a fleet of ramshackle ships appeared on their scopes. Max hailed them, and a grizzled human face filled the comm screen. "I'm Captain Novak of the Free Spacers. Looks like you've got imp trouble, same as us." Max quickly explained their mission. and Novak's eyes widened. A progenitor weapon? Shit, that's a game changer. We're in. The free spacers will help you any way we can. Bolstered by their new allies, Max plotted a circuitous route to the coordinates Zara had decoded. But as they neared the final waypoint, the comm crackled with a distress call. This is Rigor. The Caitian Emperor has launched the planet killers early. We're trying to evacuate the colonies, but we're overwhelmed. We need backup now. Max clenched his jaw, a sinking feeling in his gut. Every fiber of his being screamed to rush to Regor's aid, to protect the innocent lives in the crosshairs. But he knew that the only way to truly save them, to save everyone, was to reach the superweapon. He turned to Zara, anguish in his eyes. "Doctor, I need you to go help Rigor. Take half the crew and anyone from the free spacers willing to volunteer. Buy as much time as you can." Zara nodded solemnly. "And what about you?" "I'll take the rest of the team and get that weapon. It's the only way we can end this once and for all." Max watched as Zara and her group boarded a free spacer transport, rocketing away to join the fight. Then he turned his shuttle towards the final set of coordinates, a dying star pulsing angry red on the horizon. On the Caitian homeworld, Regor and his strike team blasted their way into the Imperial Palace, alarms shrieking in their wake. They fought like demons, Regor's plasma rifle spitting blue fire as they cut down one guard after another. Room by room, hall by hall, they pushed deeper into the heart of Caitian power. Finally, they breached the throne room's massive doors, smoke curling from the blackened edges. The Emperor sat upon his golden throne, calm despite the chaos engulfing his kingdom. "Ah, Regor, my wayward protege," he purred. "I suppose you've come to dethrone me? To end my supposed tyranny?" "It's over, Kalos," Regor snarled. "Your fleet is crumbling. The humans are united against you. Surrender now, and no one else has to die." The Emperor threw back his head and laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "You understand nothing. The humans, the Caitians, we're all just pieces on the board. Pawns, in a game beyond your comprehension." He leaned forward, eyes glinting. "The progenitors made us, Regor, uplifted us from feral beasts, granted us the gift of sentience, and I will not let that be taken away. I will not let us return to what we were." Regor recoiled as if struck. The implications crashed over him like a wave. All this time, all this death and destruction, to keep a secret, to maintain a lie? He raised his rifle, sighting on the Emperor's skull. "No, Kalos, we are more than what we were, more than what they made us. And I'm going to prove it, by tearing down everything you've built." Light years away, Max and his team fought their way through the ancient progenitor installation, a massive construct orbiting the dying star. Caitian saboteurs swarmed them at every turn, the Emperor's last desperate gambit to stop them from reaching the weapon. Max led the charge, his laser rifle flashing as he cut down foes left and right. His team followed close behind, a mixture of humans and uplifted animals fighting side by side. The station shook around them, alarms blaring as the star outside flared and pulsed. They were running out of time. The stellar core was going critical, threatening to consume the installation and the weapon with it. At last, they reached the central control room, a cavernous chamber dominated by a towering spire of thrumming machinery. Max raced to the console, paws flying over the keys as he tried to decipher the ancient controls. A flashing warning appeared on the screen, and Max's blood ran cold. The weapon required a biological component to activate, a sacrifice. He stared at the readout, his mind racing. All their struggles, all the losses they'd suffered had led to this moment. And now, the terrible choice fell to him. Max stepped forward, squaring his shoulders as he faced the pulsing core of the ancient machine. He thought of James, fighting to his last breath to give them this chance, of Regor and Zara, risking everything to hold the line, of all the humans and Caitians who had suffered and died, victims of a senseless war. His resolve hardened to a keen edge. He would end this, he would save them all. Max placed his paw on the activation panel, the device thrumming to life beneath his touch. He closed his eyes, picturing a galaxy at peace, a future worth fighting for. "Goodbye," he whispered, and the world went white. Max's paw hovered over the activation panel, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, the moment of truth, the sacrifice that would save the galaxy. But just as he was about to step into the biological interface, the control room door hissed open. Dr. Zara staggered in, her once pristine lab coat stained with soot and blood. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she clutched her side, dark liquid seeping between her claws. "Max," she wheezed. "Wait." The German shepherd rushed to her side, supporting her weight as she sagged against him. "What happened?" he demanded. "Where are the others?" Zara's eyes were haunted, brimming with unshed tears. Rhaegar and the Emperor, and they killed each other. In the throne room. It was a bloodbath. Max's breath caught in his throat. Rhaegar gone. It seemed impossible. The Caitian rebel had been a pillar of strength, an unshakable force for good, and now... "The homeworld is in chaos," Zara continued, her voice growing weaker with each word. "The Imperial fleet is fractured, but the dreadnoughts..." She coughed, a wet hacking sound that made Max's stomach clench. He eased her down to the floor, cradling her head in his lap. "I have to do this," he said softly. "I have to end this war once and for all." But Zara shook her head, a fierce light burning in her eyes. With a trembling hand she reached into her pocket and withdrew a small, glowing crystal. It pulsed with an inner radiance, casting shifting patterns of light across her fur. "No," she rasped. "There's another way, a modified Ethereum crystal. It can activate the weapon without the need for sacrifice." Max stared at the crystal, his mind racing. Could it be true? Could they really end this without any more loss, without having to give up his own life? He hesitated, torn between his duty and his desire to live, to see a galaxy at peace, to build a future alongside his crewmates and friends. But as he looked into Zara's eyes, he saw the truth there, the certainty, born of a lifetime of scientific brilliance. If anyone could find another way, it was her. "Okay," he said at last. "Okay, let's do it." With shaking fingers, he took the crystal from her hand. He stood, carrying Zara's broken body to the console. Together, they inserted the modified Ethereum into the activation slot. For a moment, nothing happened. The crystal glowed brighter, pulsing in time with the ancient machinery. Then, with a blinding flash, the super-weapon roared to life. A massive pulse of energy erupted from the installation, washing over the dying star and out into the void. It raced across the galaxy, a wave of unstoppable force that swept over the Caitian dreadnoughts, shorting out their systems and leaving them dead in space. In an instant it was over. The war that had consumed a galaxy ended with the push of a button. Max collapsed to his knees, exhaustion and grief crashing over him like a physical weight. Zara slumped beside him, her breathing shallow and labored. "We did it," she whispered. "It's over." And with a final shuddering breath, Dr. Zara was gone. Max sat there, cradling her lifeless body, as the realization sank in. James, Rhaegar, Zara. So many lives lost, so much sacrificed. The weight of it threatened to crush him, to drag him down into the depths of despair. As his vision blurred and darkened, he saw them. James standing tall and proud, a smile on his battle-scarred face. Rhaegar, his fur sleek and unbloodied, holding out a hand in welcome. And Zara, her eyes bright with the thrill of discovery, beckoning him forward. "Come on, Max," James said, his voice echoing from a place beyond pain or sorrow. "It's time to rest." Max reached out, his paw stretching towards the vision, towards peace at last. But then the world snapped back into focus, harsh and unyielding. He wasn't dead. He wasn't with his fallen friends. He was alive, and there was still work to be done. He woke to the steady beep of a heart monitor, the sterile white of a hospital room. His crewmates surrounded him, the uplifted animals who had fought and bled at his side, dolphins, gorillas, elephants, all regarding him with a mixture of awe and concern. "You did it, Max. a scarred chimpanzee said, grasping his paw. "You saved us all." Max struggled to sit up, wincing at the pull of healing wounds. What happened?" he croaked. A sleek jaguar leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. "The superweapon. It didn't just disable the Cation ships, it unlocked something in us, in all uplifted beings." She held up a paw, and Max gasped as tiny arcs of electricity danced between her claws. "Progenitor DNA," she explained. "Dormant abilities, knowledge. It's like a whole new world has opened up." Max stared at his own paws, wondering at the changes within himself. The Ethereum wave had transformed them, true, but it had also transformed the galaxy. In the days and weeks that followed, as he recovered and the news trickled in, the scope of that transformation became clear. Humans and uplifted animals, once locked in a bitter struggle for survival, now came together to rebuild, to explore, to discover the wonders and secrets left behind by the progenitors. As a hero of the war, Max found himself thrust into a new role, that of ambassador, a bridge between the species. It was a heavy mantle, fraught with challenges and pitfalls, but he bore it with the same determination and courage that had carried him through the darkest days of the conflict. There would be new threats, he knew, new dangers waiting in the cold depths of space. The galaxy was a vast and wondrous place, but it was also wild and unpredictable. But as Max stood on the bridge of a shining new starship, surrounded by his crew, his friends, his family, he felt a sense of hope kindling in his chest. Together, they would face whatever the future held. Together, they would build a legacy to honor those who had fallen. James, Rigor, Zara, he carried them with him always. Their sacrifices, their strength, their unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. With a deep breath, Max gave the order to launch. The ship surged forward, the stars blurring into streaks of light as they hurtled towards the unknown, towards a destiny that was theirs to shape. The war was over, but the adventure was just beginning. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.